Welcome to the Monday night Lock and Load show, broadcasting along the interwebs and on gun channels, a platform across the planet and throughout the universe, in case any aliens are monitoring. Tonight's subject, before I get too into it, but the subject is grid down survival. And before I get rolling on that, wanted to just show some United States U.S. Geological Survey video, overflights of the volcano here on the Big Island. Basically, the only effect over where I live in Kona has been a lot of fog and currently rain, because all this, all the particulate matter thrown into the low atmosphere by the volcano is pretty much seeding the clouds for rain. So we're getting a lot of that. People probably filter into the chat as we get going. Squib is driving home there on his motorcycle. You can see it down there in the bottom part. But anyway, I'm going to click and roll this video so you guys can take a quick look. This is on the east side of the island. And it's been getting bigger and bigger as far as just the lava flow. It's like a big river, and it moves at about 17 miles an hour. So let me click on that button, and here we go. Roll on. Survey video. Let's see. There's more video out there on the internet if you look for it, but this is the public domain stuff. Go back to the beginning. They've got a time lapse. Of the lot. Basically, it looks like, so this is time lapse. Were arrested for loitering. They don't want people. They don't want like 100 people there poking the lava, and then somebody gets pushed in or falls in and dies horribly. But because it's 5,000 degrees, I think, or maybe up or off by a couple degrees. Anyway. Then on other news in the Second Amendment world, I don't know if you guys caught this, but some Florida carry people were fishing on a pier in Florida, and they were open carrying because they are legally allowed to do so. And they even sent a letter to the chief of police, like I think a week or two in advance, that they're going to go fishing and open carry on the pier there in Florida around Miami Beach. And so the Miami police showed up and drew down on them. And so I imagine this will get wound up in court because everybody there is going to be represented by Florida Carry, I'm sure. And they weren't doing anything wrong. You are legally, as far as what I know, you're legal in Florida. You're legally allowed, if you're fishing, hunting, you're legally allowed to open carry a sidearm, or any firearm. So that's what they were doing. But the police didn't care. The story from the person in Florida Carry is that the park rangers noticed he had an afro, and and that's what they all went down to the guy with the funky hair and drew down on him. But he wasn't doing anything wrong. So there's Florida Carry has a video channel there on YouTube. They're not too prolific as far as putting out videos, but there's a video of the incident, but I guess we'll just have to wait and see how it gets all resolved in court. As far as I knew, they didn't do anything illegal. I mean, the Florida Carry people, they were just fishing. It was the police that unlawfully detained them and arrested them for nothing, basically. So that's life in the Second Amendment world. So Sean and Richard will probably be busy dealing with this stuff. And so it says, here's a letter from Florida Carry, General Counsel. Dear sirs, you are hereby on notice that today, June 24th, at approximately 11:40, members of Florida Carry were illegally detained and possibly arrested by officers of Miami Beach Police Department. And he sends email in attempt to mitigate any damages caused by the actions of the officers this morning. Members of Florida Carry were lawfully fishing while open carrying firearms at the South Point Pier. The law on this issue is very clear. See Freeman versus City of Tampa. It has some kind of reference here, MD.Florida 2018. Your officers drew firearms and committed an aggravated assault on my members. They violated my members' First, Second, Fourth Amendment rights. It's unclear at this time if any members were merely detained or were arrested. I hereby demand the immediate release of any persons arrested at the pier while engaged in lawful conduct. General Counsel, Florida Carry. So I guess we'll keep our eye on that and see how it lines up. And other business before we get into the grid down survival. I wanted to wish Dusty a happy birthday. He get a shot of Irish whiskey, drink to that, making it to another birthday.
Hey guys, thank you.
Yeah, here's Tullamore Dew Irish whiskey. Here's to you. Woo, smooth. I like that. I could just drink that from the bottle for quite a while.
Well, send a bottle here.
Tullamore Dew Irish whiskey. D.E. Williams is what the Dew stands for, and Tullamore, I guess, is the county or the name of the distillery. It's available. Should be available. Like I got mine at Safeway. So, triple distilled Irish whiskey. It's not single malt or anything, but it's smooth. I like it. So I'm not going to ask how old you are, but you made it to another year, and I know how that feels. You know, I just at some point I didn't think I was going to make it past 30, and it was like, and I couldn't even figure out why I would want to make it past 30 but that was when I was 18. And I don't know, things just seem different when you're that young. Oh well, so how things going on your birthday? Having fun? Okay, well, we got Dusty and Squib, and it's probably busy looking for some whiskey or something. So what I wanted to talk to everybody about tonight's topic was grid down survival, and that if the grid goes down for an extended length of time, it's not going to be a breeze through. No matter how prepped you are. And if you've seen the show Walking Dead, after a while, after the food stocks run out, instead of a zombie outbreak, it'll be hordes of starving people who are just crazed because they're not only starving, but they're seeing their loved ones starve right in front of them and die. So, and they who will do anything for a scrap of food. The problem if the grid goes down, I'm first start out by just describing some of the problems that will occur or describe what a grid down situation is like as best as I can. So whether from a human event like a cyber attack or a cyber war or a coronal mass expulsion that knocks down the power grid or a EMP, electromagnetic pulse by active war from a foreign power, the problem as far as the food supply in America is that it's a just-in-time delivery system that's run by computers. That it needs computers and the internet to make it work, and electricity to make all that work. So, because here's the problem: when a grocery store runs out of, say, a can of beans. Or basically, somebody bought all their Bush's Grillin' beans. Like this, that's what I like to stock up on, Bush's Grillin' beans. So let's say they run out at the local store, and so they go on the computer and tell the warehouse to deliver some more. And the warehouse goes on the, if they don't have any, or if they do have one, they'll hook up the truck delivery company on the internet and tell them to come pick it up and add it to their next cargo load. But if they don't have any, then they'll order some from the manufacturer. And if the manufacturer doesn't have enough in stock, then the manufacturer has to go order all the ingredients from the farmers so they can make some more. And every step in the supply chain involves computer ordering, computers inventory, and they don't just stock like billions and billions of cans of beans. They just supply what they need to as they need to. And if the computer grid goes down, the electricity grid goes down, then there's only 3 days of food in the store. And I think even FEMA recommends that you have like a couple weeks worth of food, but most Americans do not have a couple weeks of food in their pantry. We're a convenience kind of civilization. Give us convenience or give us death. Well, if you'll get one or the other. And so for me, I kind of take prepping as a hobby. I like it. I like to plan, and not just because FEMA tells me you should be prepared, but it's fun. Prepping can be fun. It doesn't have to be. You don't have to like have nightmares every night about the grid going down but it can happen. And if you want to be prepared for it, if you want to just spend like the next hour or two talking about it here, then like don't obsess about it. I mean, the grid is up. Be happy. Enjoy life, and stop and smell the roses. But it doesn't hurt to set back whatever your food preps you can, because there's going to be, if the grid goes down, it for any extended period of time, it could be hard to get back up and rebuild it all. And all the people that you think are going to somehow save you they have the same problems that you do, even if they work for the government. Well, they have families, they have, children and wives that they have to take care of. And we talked a little bit about this on a lobby in Gun Channels. As far as military bases, they're on the civilian grid too. But they generally have backup generators, and I was curious how much fuel they had to keep their bases up and running. And so, like the military, would the military bases that have a sufficient diesel fuel supply to keep their generators running for distilling water, for transportation, for cooking, for electricity. But it'll be tough on everybody. And I did have a little chat, I think at some point it was a text chat with Dusty about can you farm without diesel fuel or electricity? And I know Dusty said, well, I've got a shovel and a hoe. And of course you can't do 300 acres. Well, I suppose you could, but I don't think it'd be a lot of work for one person. In all the westerns, they have, like, if you saw, I think the outlaw Josie Wales was on the other night, and at the beginning of that scene, Clint Eastwood is just working a horse and a plow, plowing the field when the Redlegs come in and burn down his house. But in every western, they go out to the general store and order a plow, and then they till their fields and get some kind of crop that they can sell or eat or both and survive on. And so I guess modern farming requires fuel and electricity. I mean, Dusty would know more about that than me, but there'll be an interruption in the food supply. And how safe you are in that situation, if everybody around you is starving, well, obviously, if you live in a metropolis with millions and millions of people, that they'll be hard to
But
supply. And if you,
when it comes to that, I mean, you're not going to worry about everybody else, or at least I'm not going to. I'm going to plant enough for me to survive.
right. Well, you don't live in a metropolis, though, so obviously,
Right.
You
Right.
you won't have like a million people like up against your walls demanding your daughter's macaroni and cheese be divvied up or something. Um, and it's just that these things generally happen without any warning. So it's not like, okay, there's going to be a grid. The grid is going down 2 weeks from Thursday. Get ready. No, it'll be like Monday. You'll wake up, the internet won't work. You turn on their TV, that won't work, and then you'll go turn on the light or try and make coffee, and the electric will be off, and you'll be like, what the fuck happened? How come nothing's working? And you won't have like 3 weeks to prepare. So that's why people that's why people prep, and that's why the government says to have at least 2 weeks of food and water and medicine. And in the event of that the grid is down over time, going into town for supplies can get pretty dodgy if there's a lot of starving people around. I know that probably the best time to do so, if you could find an alternate route and not just try and go down the main road, if you're going to try and scavenge goods, most people are in deep REM sleep between like 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. So that's probably your best time if you're going to go, if you have to go out scavenging for medicine or some kind of fuel or whatever you're looking for. Probably you want to do it while most of the world is in deep REM sleep, because you'll have the least problems doing it then. That would be my thought.
But you're going to be, at that time, you're going to be standing guard because we're going to have to protect everything we have at that time.
Right. Well, obviously, you have to make a decision of depending on your personal situation of going whether to go out, whether just to hole up and not even leave, don't set foot outside your door, and hopefully nobody kicks it in, or whether you have to go out and let's say you need some kind of medicine, right? That you have a limited supply of. Because your health insurance will only pay for 30 days at a time, right?
Well, and that's kind of why I say having a friend that you trust and make an alliance with them is a very good option. I know I joked with you the other night about moving to Michigan in that situation, but in all honesty, if you would grab the first flight you could, that might be your smartest move to make. And the same with Squib. Squib is an hour or so away. He should jump in his truck and get his butt here as fast as he could.
Right, but it's just like there's going to be no warning. You know, how do I book a flight? How do they fly if there's without electricity for the air? How are they going to land at LAX with no electricity powering the? I mean, I'm sure LAX has a backup. And airports in general have backup generators for air traffic control systems, but I don't know what the amount of diesel fuel that they have to keep that stuff up and running.
Well, that's why I guess I would never live on an island like you do.
On the other hand, one thing I like about the Big Island is that there's nothing here worth really nuking, as opposed to, and there's no nuclear power plants. I mean, I think you have some nuclear power plants where if the grid goes down and they can't cool the electrical system doesn't allow them to cool the nuclear fuel rods, then you'll have big plumes of radioactive particulate matter floating through the air in whatever direction the wind blows. So every area has its pluses and minuses. You just have to. Well, you can play out all the options and kind of. You have to figure out where you feel safe, I guess, and where you think you can manage to survive. and every area will have different challenges. Like Dusty was saying, yeah, if the ships stop coming to the Big Island, I mean, there's like 200, a little over 200,000 people that live on my particular island. Oahu, like Honolulu, that'll be like a zoo. but the Big Island, it'll also be it'll be challenging. There's farms here, there's cattle here. It would just be a question of delivering the food to the people from the cattle ranches and the farms to distribution points, and that would be really difficult without fuel. I mean, there is a small, very small military base that it's more like a target practice range than a base. But and sometimes the Stryker battalions go up and train there. They'll roll in from Honolulu or Hickam or someplace on Oahu, and they'll come on in at the Kauai Harbor, and they'll escort them up there, and they'll do their training and stuff up there. But it's basically just a target range and a little tiny airstrip. I've driven by when they've been taking mortar practicing with mortars and stuff. And you can just hear boom, boom. But it's so, hey, for me, it's, go ahead.
The grilling beans you like are canned about 20 miles from my house.
Ooh. Well, I mean, I have like a whole pantry full of those beans. I just, every time I go to Walmart, I like buy 5 of them or something. You know, it's like, I don't know. It's probably just the sugar that they put in there that makes it taste, you know, that like keeps me coming back. But
that might be why it stinks so bad when you drive by that town.
The sugar?
I don't know. They dump something in their sewage that the sewage system for that town stinks terrible.
Well, everybody there eats those beans and then they fart. I thought that's why it, you know.
Oh, that could be. The more you eat, the more you toot, right?
I guess. Obviously, depending on where you live, your ability to hunt or fish or gather other alternate protein sources would be an incredible advantage. In my situation, I had planned to bug out up onto the volcano, but lately it's been real dodgy up there. So, and I had several locations scouted up there. Obviously, I don't own a farm, a 300-acre farm like Dusty. I live in a condo, but it does have the advantage of being right next to a bunch of stores that I could walk to. And they're building a new Safeway, there's a Safeway like 2 blocks away, and they're building a new one like on the back of the same block that I'm on, basically. So, and the parking lot will back up right to the condo, so property line. So, just run in and grab all the, fill up a shopping cart full of anything and run back, I guess, if the shit hits the fan. One thing I do too is when it comes to some of the medicines that I need, I buy 90-day supply at a time, so I won't just have 30, just the 30 that the insurance company, if you have insurance, most insurance companies won't pay for more than 30 days at a time. So, the doctor writes a prescription, you don't have to use the insurance company. And for my lisinopril, it's super cheap. It doesn't cost hardly anything. So I just buy 90-day supply myself. And so I'll be able to make it quite a bit of time and have blood pressure medication. So that's something you can consider if you're on medications that you need, is not using your insurance company to just, because otherwise you'd just be stuck with 30-day supply. It's I have a bunch of Mountain House, bunch of all kinds of preps, but it's just that a grid down situation. I kind of think if you live in a metropolis, it'll be like The Walking Dead. There'll just be hordes of people who are clueless and nobody to help them. Nobody that can help them on a scale that is needed. So Um, and then that, which leaves the people that are prepared with having to make these terrible moral decisions, like of people begging for help with, like, can you just give me some food for my child? And if you give them food, they're going to be back the next day for more.
And you're going to have riot situations too.
Yes, there will be violence.
Yes.
And especially, so that'll be the dangerous part about scavenging for food. That's why I was saying, go out if you have to go out and for food, fuel, or anything, go out. But most people are in deep REM sleep between 1 a.m. and 4 a.m. So, but it's really depends how long the grid down goes for and how bad it is, and what did Shakespeare say? When troubles come, they come not in single spies, but in battalions. So it won't just be one thing that goes wrong. But it's like the way the world economy is built is we need a grid. We become reliant on computers, the internet. I mean, there used to be a time when if you could go to any major corporation and say, do you have an internet website or web page or web portal? And they'll be like, what's that? Huh? We have a business to run. Don't bother me. But now you can't do anything without it. And that includes food delivery, fuel delivery. And so surviving in that kind of situation, I mean, if the whole grid gets taken out by whatever event, with there's no electricity, no water, no medicine, no food delivery, then I can imagine like half of the world's population just dying off. And the thing that's interesting about America is just the problem is that Americans aren't used to living without these things. Like a lot of third world countries don't have all these things that I was just talking about in their grid. So they might be better off because they're used to doing without, their system works without any of that stuff, or gets by. And the people have learned to get by and everybody has their own garden, and everybody has a way to get food that doesn't rely on store and unlimited credit and all that stuff. So if you want to survive, it's just one of those lines of preparedness that you have to consider if you're going to be prepared at all. Water filtration. You can't be lazy about it. I mean, you have to every day. You're going to have to get clean water, right? You can't just go down, get some water from somewhere, and hope you don't get sick, right? So you're going to have to boil your water, filter your water every day, right? And you're going to have to.
Like me, I have a pitcher pump on a well, so I could go and pump my own water if I wanted to.
You filter your well water?
No.
No? Okay, it's clean.
But I also have a second well that I drilled when I worked for a well driller that I could put a pitcher pump on, which maybe you don't know what a pitcher pump is, but it's a pump that has a lever and you pump it and you can pump water out of it.
I've seen those in Westerns. I've never seen one in real life. I mean, but you got a farm, so you're like, most people that are probably listening to this chat don't own a 300-acre farm. So I guess we could just be jealous as from a prepper point of view.
I guess you're right to that extent, but some people haven't lived that style of life like I live either. It's a country style of life.
Especially in America, most of the people are moving out of the country and into the cities. So it's like worse. It's worse. Just demographically, people are moving out of the country and getting jobs in the city. And so none of these people have any hope of living out a grid down situation for a couple of years or however long it lasts on a 300-acre farm. I mean, and going to a FEMA camp, I mean, that's a real dodgy situation, because there'll be a lot of people that maybe the government can take care of them, and maybe they can't.
Now, like I said, the surviving and all that part is not a worry to me. It's protecting against everybody else that is a worry to me.
Right, and that's really like the moral dilemmas that you'll have is like, it is. I mean, if you've got a bunch of people and a bunch of families that are just crazy that have been starving for like 4 or 5 weeks in a row, and they're begging for food and they're willing to do anything to get it. I mean, are you going to use lethal force against somebody like that? And if you don't, what are the consequences of it? And if you do, what are the consequences of that? I don't mean legal. I mean, well, you're going to be able to look at yourself in the mirror the next day. Yeah, you know, just
yep,
like,
I don't have a problem with it. I don't have a problem with it at all.
I don't either. And like I said, that's why I am one that is very willing to make alliances with somebody like Squib, or I invited you Saturday night to move.
That was a really generous offer, by the way. I don't know what I would do living
I'm just
on your
saying,
farm.
hey, to me, the more the better, and the better chance all three of us would have it surviving.
Yeah, well, the best
there is safety in numbers.
The best prep that you can make is to have real friends, because
yes,
I mean, and not just a prepper group, but actually have real friends, and that's you know, watching, like, even us, we have our disagreements, right? But if you like watched the Survivor stuff on TV, I think I commented like on last week's show on Alone. The survival show called Alone on the History Channel. Sometimes the people tap out, and there's like a $500,000 prize for whoever lasts the longest, and they tap out because they miss their family, they miss their kids, they miss their spouse, whatever. But and on Naked and Afraid on Discovery Channel, they suck at group dynamics. And I joke that you should take the people on Naked and Afraid and put them on Alone, and take the people on Alone and put them on Naked and Afraid. Because the people on Naked and Afraid, it's like, forget the lions and the tigers and the leopards and everything like that, or Cape buffalo or hippopotamus. It's like they're almost at war with each other, trying to just get along, and they can't. And their group dynamics are like that. It's like just on the verge of going into cannibalism. It's like, so it's just, it helps if you can think about it in advance. And I wouldn't call them alliances. If you're making alliances, one thing, I mean, that is something of convenience. If you can make friends, that's even better, that, you know, people that actually care about each other. But anyway,
well, my alliances would also be friends, which I consider Squib that, and I consider you that. So
thanks.
Yeah, I mean, if I brought my family down there and we were in a survival situation, I want to know that we can sleep at night and know that you're not going to slit our throats. And I'm sure you feel the same way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's good to have friends, as opposed to, this is just some schmo that was hiking down the road, but I need a body, you know? So.
Yeah, and there will be times that you need to make just plain alliances, but yeah.
And I don't invite just anybody to my property, but Squib has been here. So there's a point too, right there.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm glad that, because you guys are, you know, in the same state at least, so I'm glad that you guys can help each other out for sure. I don't know if I will ever make it to Michigan, but it's on my list of things to do one day.
While I was writing, there were things I couldn't say. I was listening, and there are things I couldn't say, obviously, because I was writing.
Go ahead.
So I think I'd like to bring up a few things. So the first thing is, Dusty, I'm 3 hours away, not an hour away. Otherwise, I'd be over more often. But that being said,
I know.
Kawhi has brought up, you know, the whole, what if it's an EMP, your car or your truck don't start, And now, how you going to walk to Dusty's? Yes, we could walk to your place. We'd be carrying packs, and we'd all be armed, and we'd be trying to find places to sleep, and somebody would be having to stand watch, and we'd be tired and dehydrated and exhausted by the time we got there. But we could walk to your place. And I don't have a problem with distance walking like that. Now, my family has no experience with it, so I'd be pushing them the whole way. Come on, let's go, let's go, let's go. But this is, even though I'm an old guy, I did this before in the military, so I know how to do it.
But you know, I made a suggestion a long time ago about getting bicycles and actually doing practice.
No, bicycles are for no. Those are no.
All right.
Okay. If I had a mountain bike, they would be for one reason only, because I was out in the desert taking the LMTV out for a spin, and the damn thing broke down, and I needed a way to get back to civilization. But honestly, I'd probably have a dirt bike at that point. I wouldn't even have a mountain bike. I would dirt bike it back. You know, the hardest part would be, you know, dropping a ramp or something, having to have some sort of makeshift ramp that I could get it out of the bed of the truck so I could ride back to civilization. But I am not into bicycles. I understand that mechanically they give you an advantage and blah, 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 blah. But I'm a biker. The people on bicycles are cyclists. Cyclists are probably the number one thing that jump out in front of me when I'm out riding. So I just don't want to be in the group. I don't want to be in the camp with those a-holes. So I don't know. Number two thing is deer. Although I did see a self-driving car today, or the person was so short that they were actually below the steering wheel, or maybe somebody's kid stole their Ford Fusion and was driving, because there was nobody in that driver's seat. So that was bizarre. They came right at me today. But anyhow, to get to Dusty's on foot is plausible. Not easy, but plausible. Another thing is you brought up the nuclear power plants, and that is something that I've considered before, but I easily forget. And Dusty, as the wind blows, you're right in line with one. Now, it's a couple hours west, but if it does melt down and it does send stuff into the atmosphere, rain, you know, that's going to pick up those particles and rain down on a farm. I don't know what to do about that. I don't know how bad it would be. I don't know how long it would last. I know the area right there would be hot. You wouldn't want to enter that zone. But it's going to have a limited effect as far as irradiating the land around the reactor. But as far as how long does it spew particles in the air, how many particles, I don't know enough about that sort of thing to know if we would just be in danger for a short time, if it would be something where we're all going to get a little bit of radiation poisoning or what. But that is, Hawaii, you brought up a really great point with that.
Where's that one at, Squib? The one you're referring to?
New Buffalo, right on the Lake Michigan shore. So it's right above the Indiana border, just like you. So it's directly in line with your farm, about 2 hours west, I'd say.
Okay, due so west. It's over.
Yeah, New Buffalo, right on the Indiana. If you go down, what is that? US 31 into Indiana, right there at the border.
US 31 drives north and south. 8090 is the toll road.
No. It's north of 8090, but right on Lake Michigan. So it's on the Michigan
US
side.
12, US 12 would be the next major road that runs east and west.
Well, yeah, I mean, okay. So you know where Michigan City is, right?
Yeah.
Michigan City, Indiana?
Yep. Been there
it's just north of there. Okay, so it's just north of there. But it's on the Michigan side. So there's one in New Buffalo. Now, east of you, there's Fermi
New
2.
Buffalo's where the casino is. I know where New Buffalo is.
Yeah, then that's right by the border. That's just north of the Indiana state line. So that's right in line with you, but that's 2 hours west. Now, Fermi 2, to the east of you, it's rare for the wind to blow back that way.
Right.
But I know there's a reactor on the Ohio River on the Kentucky side, and it is due south of your position. And if rain came from the south and picked up some of that stuff, who knows? The next nearest one I can think of is further east in Pennsylvania in Harrisburg. Now, there could be some other reactors in some other places that I haven't driven past or know of, because I don't know where they're all at. I only know the ones I've driven past. So that Hawaii does bring up a great point.
Harrisburg is where Chernobyl happened, right?
Yeah, in '79. Yep.
Where they had
we never get wind from that direction. Yeah, we never get wind from that direction.
Nope.
But if you want to learn about how bad a nuclear disaster can be, just Chernobyl was just study the Chernobyl reactor disaster. That was about as bad as it could possibly be. Everything went wrong.
Yes. If it's an EMP or a cyber attack that takes out the power grid, that reactor is screwed. If it's a civil unrest thing, I would imagine that the Department of Energy would have some sort of protocols for shutting them down. How you keep them from melting down after they I don't know. I mean, what do? Do you just pour concrete in there, or I mean?
Well, you could learn about what not to do by learning about the Chernobyl, because they tried everything and made so many mistakes and got so many people killed. It was just.
And you look at Japan. From some of the stuff I've seen, their reactors that was damaged in that last hurricane or tsunami or whatever they're called.
Fukushima power.
Power. They have wiped out millions of acres in Hawaii or in Japan.
Well,
that's all limited. They don't give a lot of information out, but every so often you will get a bit that shows how much and what things look like even, 10 years now? 10 years later.
Yeah, I don't want to go all the way to Michigan, then why not having to bug out all the way back to California and Hawaii?
Well, the thing of it is, though, our power grid is so spread out that you're going to have that situation wherever you go.
Well, not in Hawaii. We don't have nuclear power here. We didn't.
No, but I mean, there's nuclear reactors everywhere on the mainland. I mean, they're all over the. So I don't know if the Department of Energy has ever come up with some sort of doomsday scenario and have some sort of shutdown procedure that would keep them all from melting down. I know they have backup diesel generators and they can keep the cooling pumps going and all this other stuff. That's why all but one are located on a river or a lake or something they've got that supply of cooling water. There's one that is in the middle of the desert and they use sewage to cool it off. But other than that, all the other ones are on a river or a lake. So as long as those pumps are working, they can keep pumping cool water in there and keep everything cool. But when those diesel generators run out, I don't know how the nuclear power plant wouldn't somehow or another power itself in some sort of grid down situation. They can't restart it unless
they hit the stop button, and then I think that was what happened in Chernobyl. They tried to shut it down and hit the stop button, and then there wasn't anything to cool the rods, and because it was set to power itself, and then they didn't have any backup system. Somebody hit. Well, we're having a problem. Let's just shut it down. They tried to do it started out as a safety test, and then it went bad, and they hit the stop button, which was the wrong thing to do because the power plant was powering the cooling system. And when they hit the stop button, they stopped the reactor. They didn't stop the chain reaction. They stopped the reactor and they shut off the cooling rods, and it just went to hell. And I remember living in California when they said, don't go outside. Don't go outside. The radioactive cloud is going over the state today. And from Chernobyl. I mean, it was a worldwide disaster, that one. And it's just, I don't even know how you prepare for that other than having an underground nuclear shelter bunker. I mean, those were popular in the 60s. There were civil defense messages on, that people should build their own in the 1960s. It was especially with the Cuban Missile Crisis, and it was a thing. And
if it gets that bad, you go outside, you put your moon towards the sky and say, take it.
Yes. Yep, you grab your ankles, bend over, and kiss your ass goodbye. Yep.
Yeah. If that's your plan, I don't know if I want to move to Michigan. I'll stay. We don't have any nuclear reactors out here.
Now, I think the scenario that Dusty was talking about where you catch the first flight out here is something where it's an event that we can all see coming. Like there's an asteroid going to hit the Earth. It's going to hit the other side of the Earth. It's going to affect the whole planet, but the other side is fucked. And this side, we're going to have issues. There's, we're declaring martial law. We're putting a freeze on the cost of everything. We're rationing food. We're doing this. We're doing that. We're limiting transportation. We're doing that. They're going to have time to prepare. And that's where you might have trouble getting a flight off the island, but everybody's getting off that damn island. Well, maybe not everybody. The people who think that they're going to survive without ships, but if it's on that side of the planet, that could be, or some other thing where they say where we have time, like in that movie. What was it? Where Morgan Freeman was the damn president. Armageddon, was it?
No, Asteroid or something.
Asteroid or yep. No, Asteroid was the TV movie. There was Armageddon, Deep Impact, I think it was.
Deep Impact, okay.
Where he said, we've got 3 months, we're taking a lottery, we're certain people, we've been boring in the, not the Ozarks, what's the one, well, maybe it is the Ozarks. What's the mountain range in Arkansas? Is that Ozarks? I think so. We're storing all the stuff, and that's where they're taking like paintings out of the Smithsonian and shit like that, and they're putting them down there and blah blah blah. But he put a freeze on the cost of living, and so they couldn't price gouge. And we're going to try to solve this, and everybody needs to maintain order, but we're making preparations and blah blah. I would believe it would be a situation like that. That would be a situation to be like, get your ass out of Hawaii and get over here.
So yeah, so if you live in Japan and the government says Godzilla is coming, then you run to an airport and get the hell out.
Well, and my other point was, if things are rough on the mainland, within 2 or 3 weeks they're going to be rough in Hawaii.
Yeah. I mean, you guys are like England. Without the ships coming in, you're.
Well, not completely. We're not as bad as England, but. It's a similar problem.
You're not going to get ships there. If we're having troubles here, you are not going to get any supplies to your island.
On the other hand, if they declare martial law here, they really don't have any troops on the Big Island, really. So it won't be that big of a martial law problem. I mean, of all the police, they activate all the police and the national. They're just there's only 200,000 people on the island, and if like 10,000 of them are the military, I mean. It's a small population here where I live. So. Right.
And what are you going to vote to lose? 200,000 or millions on the mainland?
Well, I think the government of the United States will have its hands full just dealing with the mainland, and it probably won't even be able to figure that out, much less Hawaii.
Okay, so what they'll do as far as martial law is they're going to have martial law in the big cities. Even if the military bases aren't necessarily next to those cities, that's where they're going to have the martial law. They're not going to have the martial law out where Dusty's at. Dusty is in a place where, I'm not saying he's in the middle of nowhere, but he's nowhere near a major city. Even the nearest town is tiny. And it's still a ways to the nearest town. But there's lots of places in America that are like that are rural, agricultural, blah, blah, blah. I can go 90 minutes west of here, and I'm in the same kind of area that Dusty's in. The only thing is, that's in between city of Detroit and Lansing. So it's in between two major, whereas he's not in between two major cities. So
and we were talking about earlier that most of the people are moving out of the country and into the big cities.
Not here. They're moving out of the big city and into the country. I don't know where you're getting that.
Yeah, that's the way Michigan is. That's why I had to pay so much for the piece of property I just bought.
Oh, isn't it just Michigan? You go down south where all those auto plants are. They're moving their plants down there because the pay scale is less, that's property taxes are less, they're getting incentives to move down there, and they're doing the same thing in Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, Georgia, North Carolina that they're doing in Michigan. You got a farmer that's going to retire, and he sells his farm, a couple hundred acres, to a development company, and what do? They roll in there, they pave in streets and start putting in houses. And that's where these engineers and plant managers and plant workers end up getting jobs down south because they're building the factory off the freeway, and they need all these workers a place to live if they don't hire the locals, because you can't bring manufacturing into an area that's all agricultural and expect the people to all know what they're doing. So you've got the local population that is looking for jobs, and then you've got all these migrant people brought in from places that are industrial. And it's because Joe Blow farmer said, I ain't passing up that sort of money. I'm sick of working. I mean, Dusty, if somebody offered you $100 million for your farm, wouldn't you take it?
Sure.
Yeah, well, that's what they do. Here's $100 million. The guy goes, cool, I can retire. My grandkids are set.
You could buy that. You could buy that house over Secret Beach with the infinity pool and have 30 million left over.
Same example, on a lower scale.
They would take that and they would put
dollars to buy a piece of property that I bought 25 years ago for $30,000.
Yeah, some of that. It depends on where it's at and what all they're trying to do. But I mean, if you can put 1,000 houses in there and sell these houses for $500,000 each, I mean, you know what I mean? So no, people are moving. The country is moving. The cities are getting bigger. The suburbs are getting bigger. People are moving out in the country to get away from it. And then they're finding out that in 20 years, they're no longer in the country. The country has become the city. And this area in Southeast Michigan that's based around Detroit, that's just growing outward and outward, outward. We're not the only. Atlanta does that. Houston does that. Louisville. All these places are growing outward. So, Dusty, you're still far enough away that it's going to be decades, decades and decades before the city is out where you're at. But if somehow or another they decided to put in 4 or 5 factories and a freeway through your, then it'd be urban sprawl in no time. You know what I mean?
Right. You're right there, but you have enough people that are sick of the city and they're willing to pay top dollar to buy acreage and land that can hunt. And that's what I just ran into selling my estate on my family.
Yeah, they want to get away from it. They don't mind the commute, or they work out somewhere they can work from home 2 days out of the week, whatever. They want to get away from it. They want the kids to grow up in a better environment. They want to be quiet. Yeah, they want, and some of these people are these soft people that Hawaii's talking about from the city who don't know how to do any of this stuff. They'll buy a truck, but it'll be a pretty boy truck, and they'll be like, yeah, I'm like one of these guys, and be like, no, you're not. But still, what they end up doing is, they tell their friends and their friends, and before you know it, the neighbors across the street aren't farmers. They're engineers or doctors or lawyers or something like that. And you've got a really nice house sitting on, somebody sold a portion of their land and somebody built a really nice house there. And it looks great and all the other stuff. But that's how they start eroding away as all the city people move in.
And then they complain about me because I have some hogs here that kind of stink. So... Then they'll complain. They'll complain when you manure the field. They'll complain that your pickup truck has some rust on it. They'll complain about the sound of the tractor. They'll complain because you're shooting in your back and be like, "Look, dude, I was here first." Well, it doesn't matter who's greasing the palms of the local blah blah blah, right? That's why they got to do what they do at the shooting range I've got. Where that shooting range used to be country. Now it's surrounded by city, and the people on the other side of the lake are all wealthy. They donate the most money to the local politicians. So they had to put baffles into the shooting stations at the gun range in order to keep these rich people from shutting it down because they didn't like the noise. Well, it was there before you were, pal, but whatever. They want a nice house on the lake. So
yeah, politics is politics. I just wanted to, the people in the external YouTube chat, I have ThyroSafe tablets myself here. Especially after the missile alert that we got, I picked them up off the internet. That's what the government hands out to its people, is the ThyroSafe. It's basically, well, you can Google it and learn all about it. And let's see. And people were, I picked the Big Island. I kind of think it's a safe place as far as not having anything, being a target for anything. And there are farms and cattle ranches. The hard part, again, will be if the fuel ships stop coming, and then it'll be hard to get the food from the farm and the ranches to the distribution points. where the people are without fuel, obviously, and so the Big Island. It could support itself in theory in between the ranches, the farms, and hunting. But with its smaller population, I mean, Honolulu would just be a zoo. But the Big Island, maybe it would be able to survive without shipping for a while. But again, yeah, it's just the same problem. But if you live in a metropolis like Honolulu, that'll be a concrete jungle, and it'll turn from a concrete jungle to a concrete zoo. I mean, and it'll be the same in every city in America.
So here's what I'm counting on in this grid down or civil unrest situation, where maybe the grid is up but it's failing, or infrastructure is falling apart and government is losing control. Maybe the power plants aren't melting down, and maybe there's martial law in the big cities and stuff like that. But overall, you're not going to work every day. What I'm counting on is for natural selection to take its course. And I know it's a cruel thing to say. I say a lot of insensitive things on air. Oh, well, deal with it. But that's what's going to happen, is the weak are going to die. And it doesn't mean I want them to. I don't want any of this. I hope we never have to deal with this. I don't want my kids to go through this crap. But if it did, I'm actually counting on that in order for my family to survive, because I will not let them be weak. I will not let them down. I mean, we're going to have to get overrun or something for me to be, taken out, taken down. And that's just it. There are people out there that aren't willing to do that. There are people out there that are not willing to risk their life for their loved ones. They're too weak. There are people out there who don't know how to do anything without the damn internet or without a phone app. There are people out there that aren't willing to walk to a place that is a 3-hour drive. There are people that are not willing to pull the trigger in order to protect their family or themselves, or to feed themselves, or to keep from losing everything they've got. There are people that, it's just, you talk about the medicine. You said the insurance won't let you get more than 30 days at a time. I got to say, I've had 2 different insurance policies that actually wanted you to buy 90-day supplies at a time, and you could pay for 2 months. If you bought 3 months, they charged you what it would cost for 2 months, but you had to pay up front as opposed to buying it every month. But even then, you're only talking about 90 days. That's 1/4 of a year. So do you think that in a grid down or civil unrest situation that you couldn't walk down to the local CVS and get your medicine? They'd already be ransacked. The drug addicts would, as soon as the power went out and the cops couldn't hold it. I mean, when people realize, shit, it's real. This shit just got real, right? The first thing they're going to be hitting the gun stores, the banks, and the pharmacies. Now, I realize the banks, the money's worthless, but people don't know that. They're stupid. But the drug addicts are going to ransack that. You're going to get to the pharmacy, and the only thing going to be left is like a tore open box of tampons on the floor. Everything's going to be gone. Even the damn greeting cards will be gone. Oh, yeah, speaking of greeting cards, yeah, happy birthday, Dusty.
Thank you, but you're
right.
I'm
just trying to figure out which idiot looter is going to go in and steal the greeting cards.
But yeah, if there's a drugstore, a pharmacy next door, and this is it, if you need medicine, you better get down there that day, because by tomorrow, it's all gone.
Yeah, I do live like right next door to a CVS, a Safeway, and the Walmart. I could walk to the Walmart, but I mean, if I drive there, I could be there in like 2 minutes. And if I could just walk to the CVS, it's right behind my building. So
then I would say take one of your bug out bags, empty it, take one of your bug out bags and your Tavor, and get your ass over there and get whatever it is you need from the pharmacy if you need something. If there's a heart medicine or something like that, because I guarantee when you get there and you jump over the counter, you're going to see like 15 other people there, and they're going to be stuffing their bags too. And it ain't necessarily going to be because they need the medicines, because they want to get high.
Yeah, because they won't have it. They won't be looking for the same stuff that I'm looking for. So.
No, they're just going to dump everything they can in their bag and figure it out later. They're just going to, the high heads are going to take everything.
I don't think the managers of the stores will be there to even open the stores.
It don't matter. They'll rip that shit down.
No, they will. They're going to bust windows. They're going to break in.
And you know, the thing is,
they don't care if what they grab in the bottle is poison or a laxative. They're going to grab it because they want to get high. They don't know. They don't care.
Yeah, you know, that's the thing is the way the pharmacies store their medicines. I mean, I wouldn't know. I don't think anybody could actually find what they're looking for because they're not like labeled in any way that like a regular person could understand it. I don't think.
Well, the hardcore drug addicts, especially the ones that are on the prescription pills, because there is a big trade for prescription medicine to stay high, are going to know the names of the ones that. But then you're going to have the other ones that are just. They have to label all the bottles. The big bottles they fill the prescription of, they're labeled. So, like, if the person is hooked on Demerol, they're going to get Demerol. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I mean, I know what OxyContin looks like, but I don't know if there's going to be a bottle that says OxyContin. You know,
they have to label them. You can't have unlabeled bottles. Yeah,
well, it could be labeled.
A number on the pills that my wife looks at. My wife can tell you what every pill is.
Okay, so I'll need my Tavor and my reading glasses just to read the fucking label.
That would be a good idea. Yes, bring the reading glasses. But the thing is, when you get there, there's already going to be people there. And you're going to be searching around for whatever medicine it is, right? And it may already be gone because somebody was either thinking they could sell it later, or they're just like it's pills. I'm going out and I'm not going to know. I'm not going to. It's like if it was that bad. I mean, it was like we were dying of radiation poisoning and there was nothing we could do or whatever. I got enough bottles of alcohol that I won't know. Okay, well, but at least I ain't got to go hit a liquor store to get it. I've got it. You know,
I know how to make
ThyroSafe. I've got ThyroSafe, so my thyroid won't get. I can protect my thyroid from not absorbing radiation from the atmosphere.
Blood pressure,
but in
medicine could be a problem.
In addition to the people who need medicine or who have some sort of condition that they can't get medical care, they can't get medicine, they can't go to the hospital, whether they're injured or whether they.
Yeah, there's going to be a die-off. There's going to be a die-off,
and then you're going to have the people you're going to have the people that aren't going to eat. They're not going to eat your Mountain House. They're not, even if you offered it to them, they're like, I ain't eating that stuff. Well, I guess you're going to starve. And then you're going to have the people that aren't going to be willing to eat spoiled food, which isn't good for you, but it's better than nothing, or hunt and actually cook an animal over a fire and eat it. There are people that will not do it. There are people that'll pick a bug up off the ground and eat it if that means surviving.
Well, I could get somebody a Mountain
Move it back to your situation, Squib. How many people would cook a rat and eat it? And I know there's rats around Detroit.
But there's a dead possum on the train track over here. But yeah, I mean,
challenge. Go eat the possum.
If you're talking about in the city of, there are a lot of rats in Detroit, and I mean they're as big as cats. In addition to that, there are cats and dogs. Would people eat cats and dogs? There's some people that they
have in Venezuela. They raided the zoo and ate all the animals.
These are soft Americans. Think about it like this: there was this British expeditionary force that left India to go into Burma to fight the Japanese. And they were way down, and their air supply, they were supposed to drop supplies to them. That never panned out. And they marched through the jungle, and on the way back, they were starving, and they were getting attacked and everything else. And at a certain point, they killed their mules and ate their mules for food because they ran out of supplies. They were never resupplied from the air, and out of I forget hundreds that went, only a handful came back. That many of them either were captured, killed, or died of starvation or sickness or whatever on the way. But at a certain point, they had said, our pack animals, these animals that are carrying the supplies we need, they're now our food. All right? And they love these animals too, but they had to kill them and eat them. Who would kill and eat their dog? Well, there are a lot of people just couldn't do it. They couldn't do it.
That was the famous story of Crazy Horse when he was being hunted in the winter by the cavalry, the U.S. cavalry, and his little band, his tribe was holed up in a winter camp, and nobody wanted to even leave the teepee, but he had to go out hunting, so everybody didn't starve. So he took a bow, a compound bow and arrow, just a regular, nothing fancy, no firearm, and a horse. And he took his horse with him because if he caught a game animal like a deer, then he would need the horse to pack the animal back. And if he didn't catch a game animal, make a kill, then he would have to eat his horse to stay alive. So, that's like, I mean, real survival hunting. You go out, you have to get the deer for your whole tribes to survive, and if you don't get it, you have to eat your horse. And all he had was a bow, and that was Crazy Horse. I mean, it was. I don't think there's. I mean, but he was like legendary. So I don't know if any of us fall into the legendary, category of we're just like regular people trying to get by. So I guess we're all just going to have to muddle through.
Is there's not many people that would know how to take an animal like that and butcher it to where they saved every piece of it and cut it up.
Right. They're going to be wasteful. Now, where
I
I'm
butcher a deer, there is nothing left other than bones.
Where I'm at, it used to be rural. It's urbanized, but it's still rural enough. And if you go far enough north or west of here, it starts to get rural again and agricultural. But there are enough people here that know how to hunt. This might be a city or a township, right? But there are enough people that know how to hunt, and they have bows, they have guns, and they go hunting. They go hunting every year. So there are lots of people here that would shoot the deer that are in the township. I mean, they're a nuisance. We've got deer, and not far, like one city over, there's turkey and deer. I mean, there's lots of there's a city two cities over is where the most car versus deer accidents happen, in the city. Okay, because they used to be all farmland, and they built it up, and the deer are still there, and there's still plenty of places along the rivers, along the lakes, parks, things like that, where there are populations of urban deer. And for a while, people out here could live off of that. I mean, you're going to have, I'm not saying everybody here's a hunter, but there's enough people that are hunters that's what they'd be like, well, there's no DNR to stop me. I'm just going to go shoot the deer off my back deck. The ones that keep getting into my garden, they'd be dinner. But that would last, about a year, and then we'd be out of deer and turkey, wouldn't we?
Yep.
The 3 rabbits living in my yard would become dinner.
Yeah, it's in the external, Philo was saying that on Hawaii Island, the hunters that have been doing it for generations, and their fathers taught them and their grandfathers taught them, that there were a lot less people living here, but they sustainably have been hunting for generation after generation, and so it's possible to make it on this island without ships. But those people have been doing that, like I said, for generations. And I've been on the island for 15, 16 years. So I'm not a multi-generational Hawaiian kind of person. I'm from LA, transplant.
But because your father hunted, you can hunt and butcher?
Well, that's what they do. That's how they always get their meat. They don't go to the store.
It's a rite of passage.
Well, no, it's just a tradition. I mean, you go. That's how they get their food every week, is by hunting. They don't go to the store. They go hunting. They don't go to the store. Everybody else goes to KTA or Foodland or Costco. They go hunting, and it's been like that for generations. And I mean, you meet some of the hunters on Hawaii Island, and they're like so they're like on a different level of living, how they live. It's very. I was impressed by the hunters that I've run across that have been doing it for generations here on the island, and you see them when they're at a DLNR commission meeting complaining about the government, doing something stupid, they're generally lecturing the government on why everything they're doing is wrong. But they're just, the way they're doing it is just that they're just on a different level of hunting that I'm not at. But
another example of today's today's attitude or whatever. Myself, I like venison. I normally butcher and put at least one every year in the freezer. I will eat the venison. My girls my oldest girl, I've taught her, and she really likes venison steaks, but my wife will not even eat it. I could cook a nice looking steak for my wife, and she won't touch it. She'll say it's because it's a deer. You know, it's just so people would have to get by that concept too.
Yeah, well,
we would be knocked back to the 19th century, and if you're not willing to live like the people in the Old West days, you're not going to make it. It's not comfortable. There's no air conditioning. Everything's manual labor. An injury could mean death. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going to suck. The nice thing is you don't have to drive to work anymore. You don't have to worry about paying taxes. You know,
that'll be the first thing that comes back is the tax collection before anything else comes back. The government will come around to collect taxes so they can get the special rebuild the grid tax assessment. But
the thing is, nobody wants this. But if it did happen, most of America couldn't handle it today. Maybe if you roll back, you know, if you rolled back, what, 50, 60 years, I'd say most of America could handle it. Because prior to World War II, there were more people living that rough, rural lifestyle than the big city life. That's not to say we didn't have big cities and industry and stuff like that, but in the 1940s, there were still people getting around on a horse and buggy. Nobody gets around a horse and buggy today except the Amish. I tell you, those people, they'll be just fine in a grid down. They'll be like, make fun of my beard. You know, we were ready, mother. You know?
Oh man, there's a certain prepper attitude that some people have that's just after watching doomsday preppers where they're like, my life sucks. I hate going to work. I hate my job. My family sucks. My neighbors suck. So let's just bring on the apocalypse. Fuck it. But
they're okay. So there are people who want the apocalypse to happen for one of two reasons. One, they're fed up with their daily rut and they want this adventure and they don't want to go to work and they don't want to deal with the asshole neighbor. They want the right to shoot their asshole neighbor in the face in self-defense, and there's no law to stop them, and they don't want to go to their crappy job, and they want an adventure. What they don't realize is when you have to dig a hole to take a shit and you have to be worried somebody's going to shoot you while you're doing it so they can take what you have, it's no longer an adventure. The other group of people,
when you run out of toilet paper, it's no longer an adventure.
Yeah. The other group of people are the people that can't get it right. They can't get it right for whatever reason. It's usually on them, but they'll blame everybody but themselves. And they think, okay, in the grid down situation, I'm the hero. I'm that guy that was in the movies that's a hero. Now all of a sudden, everybody who I'm going to blame for my failures is coming to me for help, and they're not going to get it. And every girl that would never go out with me suddenly wants me because I've got food and water and protection and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, dude, you were a loser then. You're going to be a loser in the apocalypse, okay? Get your shit straight. Get your shit straight. Quit living in a fantasy world. Do what it takes to be like the rest of us.
Tom Petty said even the losers get lucky sometimes. So.
Yeah, well, whatever. But I'm saying there are people that they're sick of this life and they think if they have that life, it'll be an adventure, and it won't be. And there's people that think they have something to gain by being the only one in the neighborhood with guns and food stored. And at the end of the day, they're not going to be the action hero. They're not.
And I also think a lot of people think that it's going to be short term, like 90 days will cover it. Even 30 days will cover it.
It depends on what it is.
If we lose the grid, that power grid, it's going to take years to rebuild.
Yeah. If we lost the whole grid,
days.
Yeah. If we lost the whole grid, yeah. If we lost something major like that, yes, it would be. If there was this pandemic and we had to wait for like the people who had the natural immunity or whatever it was, or for it to wind down. I mean, even though pandemics,
if the Transformers go down, if the Transformers all go down, it'll take decades to replace them.
Yeah, there's all kinds of scenarios that would go on for long, but there are probably some short term things. And then there's game over ones like Yellowstone or nuclear war. Yeah, it's
now if Yellowstone goes off, I mean, I might have a chance over here because I'm not on the mainland, but I mean on the mainland. If you're on the mainland of the United States and Yellowstone super volcano blows up, it's going to be, I don't know how you can possibly survive.
You'll just be the last one to die. That's all.
Well, you know, it's interesting to think about it. You know, I don't want everybody to like go to sleep and wake up every morning and see the apocalypse, because wake up and stop and smell the roses. Life is still good. The grid is still up, but it's worth thinking about. And if you're into prepping for fun, marbles or chalk, it's worth talking about it. So, you know, like somebody in the chat room needed to know about ThyroSafe, and they're going to buy some on Amazon to add to their preps. That's great. And there's, you can always learn from each other. It's like I learned a lot of just being in like the bushcraft chats with some of the people from Ron's chat. That he used to have a chat every Friday. I don't know if he's bringing them back up. He said he was, but there's a lot of bushcrafters in there, and I guess a lot of the guys don't have guns, so they're into like bushcrafting and stuff like that. And so I learned a lot just by listening to those guys. And because I'm not like a natural bushcrafter. I don't go out every day and practice bushcrafting, but I sure learned a lot. So,
so the bushcrafters think they're going to survive with handheld weapons?
Oh, we got into plenty of arguments about that.
Okay.
That was a fun part. I was like the guns guy for the chat. That I always talked about guns. Whenever they started talking about anything, I would come on and just start talking about guns, and they'd be like, we had fun with it, you know.
Did you bring up the scene in Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark? You remember that? The guy swinging around that scimitar, and he just pulls out the revolver and pops him. Okay.
No, it was more like a mass attack of Scotsmen carrying frying pans versus me with my AK. Like if like 1,000, I was attacked by Scots. 1,000 Scotchmen with carrying come over the hill and kill us with frying pans out to kill me, and all I had is an AK. You know, would they get me, or you know, I said, well, I'd probably have to bump fire the thing, but I don't think they'd get me. You know. But you know, silly scenarios. But it's an interesting interaction because it's a different culture, and those people are my friends. I really like them. They're great. But it's like, do I agree with them? No, I don't agree with a lot of the stuff. And I think every time I talk to Ron, I have a whole list of things that I could disagree with them about. But man, they're so cool. I just love them all to death. But anyway, yeah, that's how it is.
Okay. I'm not going to say what I'm thinking.
Yeah, thank you. But anyway, but it's like when I was in Arizona, I saw that when I was at the Smoke Eye Museum, I saw that Zuni pump drill, and that's bushcrafting item. I mean, it's like a Makita drill. It's like a cordless screwdriver, except it was like that's how the ancient Indians had drilled. You know, they used agate instead of steel drill bits, but they use just you know, that kind of bushcraft, and that's why I like watching those Naked and Afraid and survival shows alone, or there's a bunch of survival shows on cable, and I just like watching those. You get all kinds of, you can just pick up little ideas and tricks and like learn what not to do, what not to eat.
In addition to those TV shows, there are lots of YouTubers that are into prepping, survival, bushcrafting, whatever you want to call it, right? What I've noticed is there are people out there that are looking to make a buck. And then there are people out there that are just interested in sharing, because this is, like you were saying, it's a hobby, but it's a useful hobby. Just be careful of the people that are trying to make a buck, because some of them have good information and some of them don't. And if you're this city slicker and you don't know nothing about, you don't know how to make a fire or do anything, you don't know what's right and what's wrong. I don't have a problem with somebody making a buck off this. Almost everybody who was on that Doomsday Prepper show was in some sort of business, and it looked like they were trying to advertise their business on Doomsday Preppers. And that's America, and we're capitalists. And if you want to make a buck, fine, make a buck. But just be warned that some of these people, they talk about the impending civil war. They talk about the end of times being, that's no different than the preacher saying end of times to get you to fill the offering plate and come back to church and get right with God. And I'm not saying you shouldn't, but that's a personal decision. But people use these fear tactics to get people to buy their product or give them money or keep them going or follow their channel or whatever it is. And you've got to do some of your own research and find out some of this stuff is for real and some of this stuff is fake. And the end of the world may not be for centuries.
Let's hope
or
so.
We could have collapse tomorrow morning. We don't know. But the whole thing is being prepared. There's nothing wrong with it. Some people might not agree with you. Some people might laugh at you. Some people might think you're stupid. If something does happen, you are at least ready. Some of the things that you do preparing for the end of the world could prepare you for just a bad natural disaster or bad economic time or something like that. There are a lot of side benefits to it. Plus, it is a hobby, and it is a harmless hobby. You don't hurt anybody spending your time and money on this stuff. You don't hurt anybody doing these exercises with your family, whether it be to get out of a burning house or whether it be to bug out to a place that's halfway across the state or whatever it is. You can turn it into good family time, and you can turn it into exercise, and you can turn it into all kinds of positive things. But just be warned that there are people out there who don't have your best interests in mind that are just trying to make a buck off of this.
Yeah, they want to sell you something. I mean, that's the capitalist system. Everybody's selling something. I mean, I'm not selling anything really right now for some reason, but it's just just learn as much as you can, because skills don't knowledge is power. It doesn't cost anything to learn. It doesn't weigh anything in your pack to have knowledge. It doesn't add any weight. I mean, I forgot who said knowledge is power, but the one thing that's great about getting an education at all is because the government just can't steal that from you. The bankers can't steal that from you. I mean, you learn like if you go to school and learn how to be a doctor, well, nobody can take that away from you. They can't just manipulate the value of they can't steal it. They can't trick you. I mean, knowledge is, once you learn something and you learn how to do something and you reach a certain skill level, then they can't take that from you. That is a lot of how the world works, is people stealing from other people one way or another, tricky ways, straight up robberies, tricky ways, sneaky ways. But that's the world. That's good. There's good and evil in it. So just there's a lot of good people in the world. And I'll just, have a positive message on it. It's like I have these two guys are my friends here, and it's like, I don't know how to tell you this. It's just that you can find the good in it's a crazy, screwed up, fucked up world, but there's good people in it. Okay. And so those are the people you want to try and find and be friends with. Don't expect anything extra. Don't expect anything, and just be who you are and be a good person, and practice good deeds, and maybe some of it, cast your bread on the water. Some of it comes back at some point. Anyway, all right. So, any other thing else on grid down survival that we haven't covered? I was going to say that I think you should, at least if you're planning to walk to Dusty's place, you should do it once with your family. But as a practice?
Wow, that would be hard.
No. The only reason I have to do it is because I had no other choice. In a situation where we had some sort of civil unrest or something where I didn't need to leave right away, or maybe it wasn't practical to leave right away, we would hunker down in the house. We would hold up here. It's when we couldn't stay here any longer is when I'd be headed to Dusty's. So if he's sitting there going, well, the power's been out for 3 weeks, where is this MFer? And we don't have communication, right? Because everything's out. Right. It's only because I've got enough food, I've got enough ammo. We're okay here. We're not, it's not the dead of winter, and we're freezing our ass off, per se. And right now, it's not a good idea to try to get on the road because let's say the vehicles still work. Let's say the grid's down, maybe a cyber attack, right? The grid's down, but my truck will run. Her car drives. My motorcycle works. Okay, great. We're good there, but I can't get out on the road because it's a traffic jam, or the police have blocked it off, or the National Guard have blocked it off, or a bunch of people try to leave, and then you've got the dumbasses who don't keep fuel in their car, and they broke down, and there's maybe what I might do is what I remember doing when we had the blackout in 03 was we had a satellite building about 1.5 miles down the road, maybe 2 miles down the road. Yeah, it's about 2 miles down the road from the main complex where I worked. And me and my best friend were there, and they were trying to send people home, and people were literally driving out of the parking lot onto the street to get out onto the main street and not going anywhere. So we walked all the way down to the satellite building and back, and we're trying to assess the main streets, the arteries out to the freeway to see what they were doing. Law enforcement was trying to put signs in the intersections, saying proceed with caution or stop and then go because the lights weren't working and all this other stuff. And by the time we walked there and walked back, we waited for a while until we figured out what was going on, because somebody did have a battery operated radio, and the local AM station had a backup generator, so they were reporting what was going on. But there was a guy who he didn't have gas in his minivan, and he was going to siphon it out of one of the company cars. And this is about the most meekest, shyest, whatever kind of guy you can think of. And he's asking everybody, do you know how to siphon gas? And one of the engineering managers goes, oh my goodness, if this guy's got to siphon gas, this is the apocalypse, because it's just and I had to explain to him, dude, if it's a modern car, there's a baffle in it and you cannot get a hose down in there to siphon it out. But we assessed the situation along our walk there and back. We went and we secured the satellite building, and then we got back to the main complex. And by then, the traffic had trickled down. Enough of the employees had left, and it was just me and him there securing the building. And we had figured out that we would be able to make it back to our loved ones. We would be able to, but it's going to be a long ride, and why bother waiting? Or why get out there and just sit in the car and burn all our fuel? So we waited a little bit longer, and he took off, and then I waited a little bit longer, and I took off. And by the time I was on my way home, everybody had gone home, and that was it. You didn't see people driving around. You didn't see people trying to go to the stores. Everything was off. There was no traffic lights. There was no street signs. None of the stores had that. Everybody had left their jobs and gone home. It might have taken about 4 hours, but everybody had gone home. And that's what I think would happen in some sort of grid down situation, where if the vehicles still work, everybody would leave work and go home, and in about 4 hours, everybody would be home. And I would get out and walk from my house down the highway. I'd walk north towards the freeway. I'd walk south towards the highway, the other highway, and I would take an assessment of the condition. Have the police blocked off the roads? Are there a bunch of broke down cars? In certain areas where they've got pumps because the street's set low, have those streets flooded? Whatever it is, and decide, is now the time to try to jump in the truck with the family and leave? Should we try to take all the vehicles? Should we just take one of the vehicles? I mean, there's different kinds of, but based on that little experience we had in 03 with the blackout, which I know you didn't experience Hawaii, but over here it was creepy when all these states lost power. Mm-hmm. I got an idea of what I would do, how I would assess the situation, and what people around here at least would have a tendency to do, and that's go home and hunker down.
Yeah, I mean, it's just that I was thinking that if you're planning on the possibility existing, if you think the possibility is just that you would have to walk to Dusty's farm, that you should do it once with your family.
No, I would hope that we could drive first, and if that meant I had to wait 2 weeks for enough people to evacuate or enough of the roads to be cleared or whatever it was, then I'd wait 2 weeks. If I thought that's what, I might go for a walk every single day, or I might jump on the motorcycle where I can go down sidewalks. I can go between broke down cars. I can go down the turn lane. I can fit in places you can't fit a car. I might take the motorcycle out on scouting missions to see how bad is the freeway, how bad is the highway, how bad is the other highway, how bad is, is there a possibility? Another thing, we could try to take railroad tracks as close as we could get to his place. And then from there.
That's a good idea. Railroad track.
The railroad track is right here in my backyard.
And it goes to Quincy.
Okay. All right. Yeah, because I think where it would branch off in Bluefield Township is probably where. Yeah.
If you can stay off the roads as much as possible, that's where bad things will happen, is on the roads. I mean, the bad.
Well,
there won't be. Nobody's going to roadblock at the roadblock at a railroad.
I would say is have 10 gallons of diesel fuel hidden, because
and I do.
Diesel will run without electricity. Once you get it started, it's going to keep running.
The fuel pump's electric, the injectors are electric, the computer's electric or electronic. Well, I don't know if I could get it running by push starting it.
That 5.9, maybe minus all those items, will run. It's a diesel.
If it was
in a tractor, it would run.
Mine's a third generation, so if it was a first generation, it'd have a mechanical pump, so it might. But mine's a third generation, so I don't know if it will.
Well, I'd say maybe you need to turn your garage into a Faraday cage, but it's not your house, so.
I don't have a garage.
Well, that makes it worse.
Yeah, it does make it worse. But see, that's just it. I'm saying that there are options and there are things, but no, we're not going to walk the railroad tracks all the way just to prove that we can do it. I'm going to try to drive out of here if I can. If I can't, and it may be days or weeks of scouting missions to assess when is the right time. The other thing is, if it comes down to where we have to walk, that's a life or death. They're going to go, whether they like it or not. But if I say, let's do this just to see if we can do it, I ain't going to get them to do crap.
Nope.
Okay,
well. And that's just it. My family understands that if it comes down to it, they need to follow me because I will have their best interest in mind. I will. But that's not, it's got to really be happening. I mean, Hawaii, you don't have kids. And a wife. And I'm not saying, that my family is weak, but they're not going to do something like walk that far. They're not even going to walk. Like if I said, let's just walk down to the bottom of the county and back. No, they're not going to prove something.
Well, like I've told you before, my 2.5 kids in a microwave isn't my idea of happiness, but everybody has different ideas of what happiness is. So that's okay.
Well, no, I'm just saying that if you don't have that to deal with, like Dusty's wife won't eat deer. But I guarantee you, the poop hits the fan, she'll eat a damn deer.
Yeah.
She might be hungry for a while, but after a while she'll be like,
I was surprised that Dusty was saying it's like if the shit hits the fan, she might even agree to hedgehogs. And I was like, wow, I was blown away.
But that's just it though. There's a reason why there are guys like us. And some people can say that we're antiquated dinosaurs. And some people can say we're male chauvinists or what's that toxic masculinity or whatever it is. But there's a reason that we're tough on our kids. There's a reason that we do some of the things that we do. There's a reason why we're blue collar, a little bit rough around the edges. There's a reason, because we're the kind of people that you can count on when it goes down. Hopefully it never goes down. We don't want it to go down. But if it does, we're the ones that and it's going to be the people that are politically correct and sensitive and blah 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 blah, that they're going to be the casualties. And it's unfortunate, but they made their bed. They're going to lay in it. Hopefully that bed is,
will be within 90 days.
Yeah. I mean, hopefully just it never happens. I really, truly, even though I talk about it, we all talk about it, I don't think there's anybody in this conversation that really wants it to happen. But the fact that the three of us have some sort of contingency and some sort of ideas and have done this and done that, and we know we can handle it, it's a good thing. How many people have stopped to even think about it? None. Not even after they go see a natural disaster movie. Do they really? Nah.
Most people in America don't even have over 2 weeks of food in their pantry, so it's just I would say that they're just. But the more those people are, they're just contributing to the problem by not being prepared, because there'll just be less for everybody else. It's like some people are just doomed by not preparing.
Think about all the houses that you can loot after the dust settles. I understand that there's going to be bodies in these houses, so they're going to stink like hell. And there's going to be flies in there. And there's probably going to be stray animals and everything else. And there's maybe somebody's already ransacked this house. But if you go in there with a wet rag over your mouth and,
I have a gas mask myself.
Okay, well, the gas mask may not necessarily filter out the stench. Okay. I can't say that I've ever worn a gas mask around dead bodies, so I'll get back to you on that. But it's just the whole you may go into this house and you may find something because these people expired before they used up their medicine, or these people didn't realize that they had water in their water heater and they could drain it out and get water out of there, or
they got water and they got water from some contaminated source and didn't filter it,
or whatever it is. Or they had canned food in there, but without a way to cook it, they didn't think about eating it cold, because there's some people who won't eat food cold out of a can. Whatever it is, you may find something in that house that might be useful, and you may have to go to 100 houses, but there's plenty of neighborhoods that got over 100 houses in them. You just need to be armed while you're going through these houses, because some of them may be occupied, or there may already be other looters in there. But there's going to be a point where enough people have died off that you're going to be able to scrounge and scavenge for fuel and food and other things that you're going to need. And it's unfortunate that you're going through, but they're already dead, so they don't need it anymore. The sad thing is that, that's where only the strong are going to survive. And also, with all these dead bodies around, who the hell's going to bury them all? So it's going to be pretty disgusting for a while. Nobody
diseases.
Yeah. I mean, Dusty, where you're at, you're far enough away that even if, let's say, all of your neighbors died but you, we could bury them, and the bodies would be far enough away, everything would be far enough away that, we're not really going to have this stench roll downhill. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know about stench, but I also did add, besides my gas mask with filters for NBC kind of stuff, I've got, I picked up some Curad face masks. The Curad sells some face masks that you could get off of Amazon that if there's like a pandemic where there's the flu, the face mask actually, it doesn't just filter out the virus from the flu, it kills it. If you breathe in some virus but the gas mask catches it, the gas mask won't just stop it from breathing it in, it'll kill the virus. And so that's Curad sells that. It's on Amazon, you can get it.
Yeah, and that's why we went to embalming our dead, was to prevent diseases from starting in this country. Major diseases like typhoid, and a bunch of the other ones.
Do you know? I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm just saying. So if there's bodies laying all over the places, disease will run rapid for a while too.
Yeah, the best we could hope to do is to try to find some good masks, and not them ones from Home Depot either, because they will not stop stuff. I mean, it's better than nothing, but masks and rubber gloves and plastic tarps, and you're going to be taking things like shovels, maybe even snow shovels in some cases, and scraping these bodies, because depending on the level of decomposition, they turn to damn jello. Okay.
Yeah, some people prep body bags. You know, the government does.
Well, yeah, but you're probably better off with a plastic tarp where you can roll this bloated, disgusting body onto, and then wrap it up in the plastic, and then go, I don't know, out in their backyard and bury them,
or burn it.
Yeah, you know, but now you've still got, you know, this stuff that seep through to the carpet, through the padding, and into the subfloor. And it's like, and if you burn down every house with a body in it, you're going to burn the whole damn city down. You know, I mean, it's just there's so many things to contemplate. And if you had, say, you were living in a town with thousands of people, and when all was said and done, there were only maybe a couple hundred left, and you had to bury the rest of the people. How many people in there have what it takes to bury their dead, you know, neighbor? A whole family. I mean, it's just, it's too. I mean, if you think eating a wild animal cooked over a flame is hard for some people to do, moving a body with some Visqueen, you know, two people rolling it up in, you know, or maybe even just rolling up the whole damn carpet. Taking a utility knife, cutting the carpet, rolling up the body in the carpet, and then taking them out and back and burning them. Yeah, burning them would probably be better than burying them. And then the stench of a burning body, that is a disgusting smell.
Yeah, I mean, they on the Military History Channel had that one of the combat photographers. I forgot which one it was, but he described on Iwo Jima burying a bunch of Marines, and it was very sad. You know, so I imagine that's how it would be.
They smell better not long after getting killed versus, you know, a month later.
I imagine Marines always smell bad, but you know, you would know better than me.
I meant a dead body. I meant a dead body doesn't smell as bad. It doesn't smell as bad like same day versus a month later. Oh my goodness. Yeah, we do smell bad. Yes, we do. We smell like beer and smokeless powder and diesel fuel, well, CLP, and either diesel or jet fuel. Yes, we smell like all of those things.
All right.
And this really cheap aftershave they have at the PX called Windrift.
And I agree with Scrib, though. You know, my wife just texted me, and I watched her drive out the driveway, and she has to go pronounce somebody dead. That's part of her job, and there is no way I could ever do that part of her job.
See, that's just it. Nobody would want to. In addition to having to try to get the infrastructure going again, depending on what level it was taken down to. You're talking about just cleaning up the mess. And how many structures will catch fire because, you know, somebody was trying to cook something and they, instead of starting a fire in their charcoal grill out in the backyard, they decided they're going to set a fire in the living room. And
I know. It's like, man, I had to report. They're made out of wood, and there's those things, they set the lanais on fire, the whole fucking building will burn down, and I don't want to like wake up in the middle of a fire. So I basically said, yeah, I just told the management company it's a fire hazard. It's against it's specifically against the rules for them to. You can't like go on the lanai and put like a barbecue or propane powered barbecue or deep fryer or anything like that because the whole place could burn down. And so they're like the management company's like. The manager had been like, yeah, I'll get rid of it. I'll get around to it. And like 3 weeks later, nothing happens. So the management company was like, what, fire hazard? Get it out of there like this instant. You know? So yeah, cooking indoors with it could be hazardous for sure.
But think about it, though. You said that these urban population centers are going to be really bad in a situation like this. So think about it. They got no power. They don't know what to do. They don't have a clue. And they're going to try to cook something. And let's say it's like here where we get snow. So it's wintertime. Let's say this happens in winter. They're going to try to keep the house warm. They don't have a fireplace. They try to make one, and then they burn the house down, and then it spreads to the neighbor's house, neighbor's house.
Let me tell you something. I think
you've got no fire department. You've got no fire department. You've got no water pressure. You've got no nothing. And before you know it, the whole damn city of Detroit has burnt down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's something that I think you might need to consider, Squib. Is that okay? You want to stay if there's a problem, the grid goes down. You're going to try and stay at your house for a while. The problem is that all those people that we're talking about that aren't prepared. You have a generator, you're gonna have light. That's the first thing that will attract looters or just hungry people or just people who are desperate people wandering, like trying to find a scrap of food. First thing will be light. So okay, if they have light, they have power. Where there's power, there's food. Okay.
Now I've considered that.
But that's only a week. I mean, really, if you figure that out, conceivably, you might be able to have a week's supply on hand. We went a week and a half last spring without electricity. I was burning 10 gallons of gas a day through my generator.
And that's the second thing that will attract people is the sound of a generator.
Yeah, the generator we have here is loud, okay? And if there was a situation where the generator wasn't working, but the vehicles were, but we knew we couldn't drive anywhere, and it was freezing cold, and we had to go sit in the vehicles with the vehicles running with the heat on just to thaw out or something, we'd do that. Not to mention, I would be cooking on the grill out back or boiling water or melting snow or whatever it is on the grill. I've already considered that, and I've decided that where I'm at, I'm okay with making smoke. I'm okay with making noise. I'm okay with having lights on if we have some sort of power or candles or whatever it is that we do. And if people come in, they're going to be met in the face with a gun. Period.
But what I'm saying is, after a week, you're going to have more than 50 gallons of gas on hand.
True, yeah. And the generator we've got will only power a couple things. I'd be lucky to keep the furnace going in the winter, assuming we still had natural gas flow, and really not much else.
Yeah, well, the whole point is just that from if you're on Dusty's farm, then it won't just be you with a gun or your family with a gun. It'll be like you're exponentially more tactical power to deal with trespassers.
People would have to go to so much effort to get there.
Right.
That there's only going to be, whereas here, somebody might come across the street or across the highway or down the railroad tracks or across the lake or whatever it is.
In nature, most predators, a lot of predators, even the top predators, apex predators, they rely on power of numbers to survive. Packs of lions, lion pride, they run in prides. Ants rely on numbers. I mean, numbers count in a
I got
situation.
2 boys, and they're pretty damn good with a rifle and a handgun. And I know that they would have a hard time killing somebody. But if they knew that that person was going to do something bad to their mother or their brother, they could do it.
I have the guns. I'll give them.
I wouldn't. They got their own guns, Dusty. It's not that would be my first line of defense. But if you're talking about numbers, my boys would be. Here's the thing: when you kill somebody, you got to do it and think about it later. If you think about it while you're doing it, you won't do it. You have to do it and deal with it later. You deal with it later. And if it was that chaotic,
I think the saying is let you kill everybody and let God sort it out later. Yeah,
well, no, I mean, if it was that scary, they're going to already start dealing with hardships, like eating cold food out of a can, like having to melt snow on the grill, bundling up in clothing because the heat isn't on. Like walking around the house with a gun, where they're used to their guns being in the safe and the ammunition being in a separate location. Like me having serious talks with them about what it's like to kill somebody and things like that. Like knowing that at some point we may end up walking down the railroad tracks for 3 or 4 days to get somewhere safer or whatever it is. At that point, that's where you kind of mature, and you're either going to become a man or you're going to stay a boy. Like I said, I don't want any of this garbage to happen. I don't want none of it to happen. But
your father. You should know that. You want your boys to be. Yeah, let your children be children before they have to grow up, if at all possible.
And that's a special time.
Meanwhile, though, they're pretty handy with guns.
Well, that's great. But yeah, it's like children should be allowed to. Hopefully, if the situation. I said it. Sorry. If the situation allows you definitely want to let children.
But in grid down, that all goes down the toilet. It all goes out the window, and that's life.
Yeah. A shot also needs to be a kill, because afterwards, somebody will probably challenge you on that.
Okay. By the way, I just wanted to say that the face mask I was talking about is Curad antiviral medical face mask, pleated, and it's the box of 10. Anyway, I bought some of those and added it to.
So it's not like a dust mask you get at Home Depot.
I can screen share it if you want. No, it's not like a dust mask. It's an antiviral medical face mask.
Probably the ones my wife brings home from work.
You remember when that bird flu stuff was going around and everybody's running to Home Depot buying the dust masks that you use for sanding drywall? And those are not going to stop anything except drywall dust.
Yeah, I'll do a screen share really quick. Let me figure out the button to press just so people can have a look at it. Start screen share. There you go. Can you see this?
Yeah, it looks kind of like a surgical mask.
Yeah, I think those are the ones my wife brings home from work.
Tested
seasonal. And they are a lot better.
Yeah. Tested seasonal and pandemic flu strains, including swine flu and bird flu. And it wasn't that expensive.
Where'd you buy it?
Off of Amazon.
Okay.
The grid's still up. I hate to say it, I'm such an Amazon prepper. It's I rely on the grid way too much, but in this case, I don't know where else I would get them. They don't sell them at CVS that I've seen them. So anyway, I got a couple packs of these. And
so next time you're at CVS, are you going to be like, so where do you guys keep this medication or this painkiller?
Unfortunately, the CVS is closer to me, but I actually usually get my meds at Walmart. So and that's like I have to walk up the hill. If I don't take the car, it's like a 10-minute walk uphill. But it's the CVS is like literally I could throw a rock and hit it. So, but I usually don't get my meds there. Because I don't know, Walmart is a little more comfortable. I don't know. I guess I could knock out 2 birds with 1 stone when I'm at Walmart. I mean, they have Mountain House there, so I could go shopping, and they have cordage there. They have DVDs. Like if I wanted to buy some Clint Eastwood movies or something, I could go strolling through the DVD aisle or pick up some canned food and add it to my prep. So once a month when I go for my meds, actually it's like got to the point where I go twice a month. I go once for my 30-day meds that I have the insurance company pay for, and then I go once every 90 days. Actually, I go for my 90-day meds and I pay for that myself. So it's like I go once a month pretty much.
What happens when you quit taking your blood pressure medicine?
Well, if starvation sets in and I lose some weight, hopefully my blood pressure will go down. But
no, I'm actually saying, have you ever stopped taking them?
For both of you guys, what would happen? Can you live, but you're just in pain, or what?
There's no pain.
Blood pressure shaking, but
Dusty's situation is different than mine. I can tell you that generally speaking, high blood pressure has no symptoms. I mean,
I know.
And so does neither does necessarily the symptom of like that your arteries in your heart are clogged is you die. So, and I almost did. So I mean, actually, I could have got up and from the hospital, and they said, okay, you look, they did an angioplasty. The cardiologist looked at my heart and said, Steve, you need a quadruple bypass. But I could say, I feel great. I could just after they gave me the Lasix shots and I like pissed in a bottle, I felt fine. I could get up and walk away. It would have been dumb because my arteries were like 98% blocked, but but I felt good enough to just keep on going. So, but now I don't have any blockages. My arteries are clear. And it's there would be no symptoms except for high blood pressure.
Now, see, like with me, because I've done it, I've wanted to see what I would do if I quit taking them. And my first sign that I notice is like my hands get very shaky. If I'm trying to do something precise to where I'm working with my hands are shaking the whole time. So, I mean, even shooting a gun, I would be very shaky shooting a gun with high blood pressure.
It really never affected me at all. But I think that in my situation, I have three that I rely on. Low-dose aspirin. Okay, and
I take those.
That's the blood thinner. And you don't need any prescription to get that. I've got lots of that.
And I still squirt blood like a stuck pig.
Okay. And the other one is metoprolol. And the effect that one has on me is that means when they put me on a treadmill, it kind of puts a cap on how high my heart rate and blood pressure will go. It's like so I could walk uphill for 10 hours and run uphill, and my heart rate is going to get above a certain amount, and my blood pressure is going to go up over a certain amount. But the lisinopril that I take, that just lowers my blood pressure a lot. So, and I've got that, and I also have. I've been taking cinnamon capsules also for that. That helps a little too, but that's something I also don't need a prescription for. So that's something I stock up on. There are non-prescription remedies that you could stock up on that help with if it's just high blood pressure, and it's always I'm doing the best I can. I'll survive if without my meds I could survive. It would be a little more dodgy. I just have to be careful not to overexert myself, or if I have to shoot somebody, I won't get all worked up about it. It'll be okay. You die now. And it's like, here, take a bullet. And then I'll go back to being relaxed. But it's like I know, like Dusty, something happens with a neighbor and his blood pressure goes up and he gets antsy. He's like, rah, 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 rah. Me, and it's like I'm not like that anymore. I don't let anything get my blood pressure up. I mean, it could go up all by itself or something, but it's like I don't do fast food. I don't eat greasy foods. It's like all those favorite things. No bacon. All those. It's like that Arby's commercial when the sandwich is perfect. You've got all the meats you need. Just need to add bacon. And it's like I can't do that stuff.
No way. I'm going to give up bacon. I'll die first.
Well, okay.
I'm a hog farmer. I am not giving up bacon.
Well, not if the shit hits the fan. People will eat. You make allowances, but I mean, generally, when the grid up, I try and make healthy selections.
I got 10 of them right next to me right now. So,
bacon strips? You're eating bacon strips?
I got 10 hogs.
Oh.
Cut those up and get bacon from them,
You're trying to
That's where bacon comes from.
I know, but it's like I just thought you were eating bacon in front of me here because after I said I don't eat that anymore. As you stuff your mouth with bacon, and I just like, what did I have?
Let me get a pan and fire up the stove. I'll make a pound of bacon.
Well, I think I had.
That's what I'm telling you. What if a doctor ever tells me that I got to give up bacon? I'm going to go tell him where he can go because no, I'm not giving that up either. The fact is, I don't eat a pound of bacon every day. I would in a ideal situation, but I mean, my thing about giving up certain foods is I don't eat or drink enough of any one thing, I think, to kill me. And if a doctor wants to tell me otherwise, I don't really care.
Yep, same here.
If I was eating a pound of bacon every day, or I was eating 2 quarter-pounders every day, or I was drinking a case of beer every day, or I don't know, whatever, if I was eating a pound of chocolate every day, or I was eating a gallon of ice cream every day, or something like that, then I could see the doctor going, yeah, you got a problem. But anything that I like, I eat. But you know what would probably get me?
Everything that you mentioned, I haven't eaten in like since my open heart surgery. I haven't eaten any of those things that you mentioned, and it sucks because I wanted to eat all of them.
I'd probably eat a pound and a half or 2 pounds of steak every day if I could. That would probably be number one on the list. Then bacon. Well, you know,
it's the saturated fat.
I keep my diet. Fat. I rotate what I eat. I make sure I eat lots of vegetables. I make sure I get lots of fiber and grains and blah blah blah. I'd eat more fish if my wife would cook me more fish. You know, but I don't stay on one thing. I mean, there are some people that every night they eat a gallon of ice cream every night. I can't.
Man, you know how long it's been since I've had ice cream?
I've never liked ice cream.
The hell is wrong with you? I love ice cream. I just haven't eaten any since my surgery. Oh God. Okay, I see general relativity and Rupan. Jared's out there. So hope everybody's doing good. Yeah, it's like basically when I see ice cream and I get the urge to buy some, and when I walk through the store, all I have to do is remember the incision pain from the surgery, and then that cures me of my cravings, and I don't buy it. I mean, it hurt like a son of a bitch when I woke up the next day. So, but it's damn, I said again. All right, sorry. I think we covered most of the stuff on the grid down survival. Anybody you got anything you want to add to the topic? Something we haven't covered or missed? Or if there's any questions, I haven't even looked at the gun channels on that. No. There's people out in the experiment.
I know that I need to increase my preps. I also know that I need to increase my knowledge. I've seen stuff about filtering water and purifying water, but I've never actually tried it. That's something, instead of walking to Dusty's, that's what I ought to be doing, is walking across the freeway to the lake, or the highway to the lake, and getting a 5-gallon bucket of water out of the lake and bringing it home and purifying it, or attempting to purify it with something that I can rig in the backyard, like what I've seen on some of these Doomsday Prepper shows, right? And or watching a YouTube video about purifying the water. The thing is, though, I think I would want to send it to a lab to have it tested to see if I actually did right, as opposed to drinking it and then getting sick.
Well, so, I've got a H2O Labs water distiller. I haven't made a video of it yet, but I will. Let's see. Let me see if I think I have the link for it, but I haven't made a video myself. I have the stainless steel one. Let me hit preps. It'll be in if I bookmarked it. I have there's so many different ways that I have to distill water. I have the portable ones for my hydration bag and my bug out bag, and I have the one where you need power for, which is my countertop water distiller from H2O Labs. I'm trying to find it. I may have to
trust it enough to drink the water.
Yeah, I have been drinking the water. Are you kidding? But actually, what I do right now, though, is here it is. Let me hit the screen share real quick. I'll put a link later.
Can you guys read that? What I'm trying to show you?
Let me get back to it and see.
Ward
Laboratories, Inc.
Yes. That is a water analysis of my water well. That place right there, you could send a sample to, and they will send you an analysis of everything that is in your well water.
Okay. Do they have a website
Yeah,
so people know where it can find it?
Yes. Well, just go to Ward Laboratories Incorporated.
So just search for it on a search engine then. Okay.
Yes.
So
Right.
maybe an interesting study would be to send them a sample of lake water from across the street, right, from across the highway, and see what comes up with, and then try to purify another sample and send it to them and see what it comes up with.
Okay, here's what I do right now. I mean, first of all, I have a GE under counter reverse osmosis filter under my sink to deal with the city water. I mean, but obviously that only works when there's water pressure, but I take that water and I fill up this stainless steel 300S, this model here. And basically the dome, I mean, it looks like black plastic on, but the inside, it's a steel top dome. So it when it gets hot, it doesn't warp and it'll keep the seal. So basically it distills the water. There's a boiling pot on the bottom, and there's fans and a condensation hose on the top. And then there's a little charcoal filter that it drips into the glass carafe. And you fill it up to the fill line on the inside, and then you just put the top back on, and you insert the charcoal filter in that little nozzle there, and then you hit the button, and it starts, and then you just leave it overnight, and you come back in the morning, and you've got a gallon full of distilled water. And I think water distillation is the safest way, because everything else it gets converted from liquid into steam and then back, and then it goes through a charcoal filter, and that's what I drink. But I mean, my source for the water is already clean in the first place. I haven't tried using it with lake water or anything because I don't have any around here, or rainwater. I could capture rainwater and distill it, but there'd probably be some salt in there from the ocean, or there'd be particulate particles from the volcano in the rainwater right now, sulfuric oxide. So I just used reverse osmosis water, which is pretty much clean anyway, from the city grid, and then I put it in one of these. And obviously the main problem with these is you need electricity to run them. So if the grid goes down, you need power. And it doesn't use that much power. It's just a boiling pot and a fan. But if you could manage that much power, then you could get access to the lake water. You should be good to go. They aren't really cheap, but they aren't super expensive either for the countertop version. So I got the stainless steel one, and that's what I drink. If I make coffee with it, tastes great.
But reverse osmosis is slow.
Yeah. So
you're gonna produce maybe a gallon a day.
Yeah. So this is another source. Now I have different systems for if I'm out in the field. I've got a bunch of different systems for, like, if I'm out hiking or camping, so that could be water. This is like for at your base camp or your home or someplace where there's electricity, obviously. But water distillation, I can't imagine a better kind of filter than water distillation.
Now, the reason I use this company is when I'm brewing beer, you want to try to make your water match the same water quality as, like, say, your Corona beer. I can make my water here match your water in Hawaii if I want to.
Oh, yeah, we were talking about the Kona Brewing Company beers, right? Okay.
Yeah. So that's why I've been picky on water. It's a whole new chemistry game that I've tried to learn. Has it helped me or not? Well, last year or so I haven't made any beer, so I guess it really didn't help me to learn it.
Well, you had reasons for that, the medical reasons for cutting that out. I know. So, well, when I'm back, you can make beer and you could test it. You test your beer on me,
All right, there you go.
So I'll feel useful. I'll be like a beer tester. You just have to figure out how much to pay me to test your beer. But anyway, it's I have let's see. There's so many kinds of field ways of cleaning water in the field, but I feel like the water distillation is the best one. And so, but right now I'm getting the best. I think I get the purest water I could possibly get, because first it goes through a reverse osmosis filter, and then it goes through a distillation, so steam distillation. So you can't get better than distilled water. And
even then, if I was thirsty and I wanted to drink a water out of a lake, I would pour a little bit of chlorine in it. It only takes 4 parts per million to kill all bacteria in water.
But you have to wait for it to work.
Doesn't. It's the minute you pour that chlorine, that water is safe to drink.
You need to wait for 30 minutes when you put the chlorine in before you drink it.
Yeah, I don't agree with that. If I was thirsty and I wanted to drink out of the lake, I'd pour some chlorine in there and I would drink it.
Well, I have chlorine tablets and chlorine drops, but I mean, if I do that, I will wait 30 minutes. I won't drink it. If that's
but think of it like this: if you get the water out of the lake, you put the tablet in and you drink it. The 30 minutes it takes can be inside your body. It's good.
Yeah, there you go.
And it's just the consequences of getting an infection without any medical services available are you die, and your family dies if you die. So think carefully. But with water, getting an infection from water, bad water source, contamination, a virus, that could take you out. So but it's one of those things that every day you're going to need clean water, and you're going to have to get into the habit of purifying your water every day if the grid goes down.
One difference is
you better do it
Michigan
right.
Water, most of Michigan water is spring fed.
Who's
so most
fed?
Michigan water is fresh. So
yeah.
I mean,
we're
I'm not going to go
here.
drink water out of a mud puddle, but any of the lakes in Michigan, I'm not scared to drink the water from. Now, the Detroit River or that, maybe,
Flint, Michigan.
Flint. Yeah. But I'm saying most of the lakes in Michigan, like, Squib goes up to Grayling a lot. And up there, there's Otsego Lake.
The Flint thing is not what the media made it out to be. Hawaii, you know how they're talking about the volcano on your island is just killing everybody, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're overblowing it. That's what they did with Flint. The small number of houses that were actually affected by it, it's a few houses in the oldest part of the inner city with the lead line pipes. The rest of the city's fine, and everything outlying is fine. The Flint River is fine. Lake Huron is fine. It's just a small number, but it made so much of an issue. And I'm not saying those people don't have good drinking water today. They still don't have good drinking water. But these are like the shittiest, crappiest, oldest, tiniest houses in the oldest part of town with the oldest plumbing. And it was a screw up by the city of Flint. But there are places in the city of Flint where you can drink the city water and it's perfectly fine to drink as long as you're just, in those areas.
Well, the point I was trying to make for people that are listening to this broadcast all around the planet is that if the grid goes down, you need fresh water every day, and you have to make sure that it's purified. And you can't be lazy about it. It's the easiest thing to be lazy about. Like you're saying, it's like, well, I'll just throw a chlorine tablet in and drink it right away and not wait 30 minutes. Well, you have to do it right. Sorry.
But, you brought up the rain catchment before, and that's a great idea. And here, we could have a week where it rains every single day, and then we go 2 weeks with no rain. So you want to store whatever you catch. It's something here. It's really, the rain would probably be easier to purify for drinking than getting it out of the lake or the river. But I got a lake on one side of me and a river on the other. I ain't worried about running out of water. Actually, if I dig down 30 inches, I hit water. So I'm not even worried about, whereas somebody else in another part of the country might be really worried about water. I'm not really that worried about it here. The thing is, though, I would have to rig up what I have. If I couldn't leave the house to get resources, I would have to rig up what I had to collect water or to purify water. And that's something that is weak on my preps that I should improve. Instead of having to rig some sort of system, I should already have what I need. Even if it's not deployed, I should have it.
Yeah, you know, SD Bullion sent me, they sell Berkey filters, and those don't need power at all. I've never used one, so I can't really...
Is that like a Life Straw?
No. They're like these tall silver. We could go to SD Bullion next time you're looking at silver, but they sent me like a 10% off coupon with my last 5 ounces of silver that I bought. But it's just look up Big Berkey on. They sell them on Amazon. SD Bullion sells them. That's one filter system. As far as my hydration bag, I've got the UK one was expensive that the British Army uses, Pure Hydration. That's been approved. It's by the London School of Tropical Medicine or something, and uses MAD technology, and it uses like the filter. It's actually, I've got the one that is actually an inline filter that I could plug into my Camelback, and it basically uses like a charged filter, so the electrons grab any virus. You know, it's used partially. It's not just like I have Sawyer filters too, but the Sawyer filters use just they rely on just the hole in the paper filter in the filter that it goes through, being able to catch any virus. And viruses are pretty damn small, but they rely on just as the water going through as small of a hole as possible to stop a virus. The MAD filter works different. It uses charged particles to make the viruses stick to the filter. But Sawyer filters are cheap and inexpensive, and they filter a lot of water. I've got the MAD inline filters, and of course, I always have coffee filters that I could use to just get out, dirt and particulate matter that I could filter it through while I'm filling up a bag or something before it hits, so I don't clog up my filters. But that's the thing about filters, is that over time they eventually get clogged up, and you have to either backwash them or get a new one. So I've got a few of those different options in my packs for field filtration. But yeah, I kind of went in.
Go ahead. I was just going to tell Squib that if water's that shallow, you might be able to drive a point in your backyard and put a pitcher pump on it and have a source of water.
There's a lot of options to filter water, but you have to, and a lot of them are cheap. Like Sawyer doesn't cost a lot of money, the Sawyer filters, and they work pretty good. But there's I like to have different technology options. So that's why I've got reverse osmosis, steam distillation, MAD filter, Sawyer filters, and I even have a few Life Straws around here somewhere. But it's just, I have a lot of different ways to filter water, and I'll use whichever one I need for the situation. If I feel confident about the water source and I can get by with just a Life Straw, then fine, I'll use a Life Straw. But if I'm not so sure, I'll use something more robust. But yeah, all my bug out bag and my day mission Camelback Mule hydration bag and my medical bag, I've got like MAD water filtration perhaps, and I still want more. That was because it's just that's one thing that'll take you out really fast, and it's something. It's just that it's one of those things you have to do every day. You have to make sure that you have clean water, And so if the grid goes down, that'll be really a hard thing. But it's like when you're in the Marines, right? What's the first thing you do when you wake up, right? You make your bed, right? Is that what you did when you're in the Marines? The first thing you do is get up and you have to make your bed just right. Well, the first thing you do when you get up is, if the shit hits the fan, is get clean water, because you're fucking gonna need it at some point during the day.
I mean, ideally, if you can purify a large batch of it and then store it securely meaning nobody's going to steal it, it's not going to get contaminated again, and it's not going to freeze. Excuse me. You could focus on other things because you know that you've got 3 days worth of water, or a week's worth of water, whatever it is that you're going to use, or you intend to use, or your experience tells you you're going to need to purify this much water and store it. I don't know that I'd want to be purifying water on a daily basis. Now, if I had a small water supply coming in, or I had a small means to purify water where I had to do it every day, then I guess I would purify it. I guess it'd be just in time.
So let's give you an example. So you wake up, you go down to the river or the lake or wherever you said you're near, and you fill with 2 buckets, bring them back, purify them, and then you get on with the rest of your day. I mean, because there isn't a day that your family's not going to need water, right? I mean,
right. But if I had, say, a 55-gallon polypropylene barrel and a pump, and it was all clean and sterile, and I had a way to purify this water, and I could store it, then I would make 10 trips down to the lake or to the river with the buckets. Or I bring a couple of my kids with me, and probably be a good idea anyhow to have somebody watching my back and purify the water and store it in the barrel. That way I could make 1 trip every 3 days, or 1 trip a week, or depending on how much water we were actually using.
Well, you can get your kids all buff and by making them carry the water, you know.
Well, yeah, I did tell them that, one day that all they're really going to be needed for is to move furniture. But yeah, I mean, it's just, it's, if you're spending every day purifying your water for the day, I would say that's if you're in a situation where security says you can only make 1 trip to go out to get the water, or the equipment you have works so slowly or so small, or whatever apparatus you've rigged to purify the water, boiling it, filtering it, whatever it is, multiple things to ensure the best, most sanitary water. Or the fact that maybe you don't have a 55-gallon drum to put the water in, or whatever it is that you're doing, then yeah, you're going to have to do every day. But if you can avoid going out every day to do it, I would do that.
It's possible, Squib. I have a buddy that lives about 20 miles north of me, and his house, the best that his home well will do is a half a gallon an hour. So in order for him to survive, and he also has like 5 kids. So in order for him to survive in his house, I designed a system where we put 2,000-gallon tanks in his garage, and we treat those to make them safe. And I wired his pump on a timer that it runs, 20 minutes 2 or 3 times a day, and keeps those 2,000-gallon tanks full. And then from those, his house pumps the water into his house to run his showers and all the water you would need for a household. And that works. So yes, what you're talking with a little bit of knowledge can be done.
See, my yard really isn't conducive for me to put in these big polypropylene tanks. But now if I had a couple acres, I would have that sort of thing. And I think I would have one with potable and one with non-potable. Now in a grid up situation, I could have a truck bring me potable water and pay for it. in a grid down situation, I would have to purify my own water and put it in the potable tank. The non-potable, I think I would do mostly off of, or all off of, rainwater catchment. And the non-potable I would use for laundry, and I would use for watering the garden, and I may even consider using that for showers.
What's interesting about the whole rainwater catchment is, like in Hawaii, all the rain catchments now have like sulfuric oxide particles and hydrochloric, acid particles that from the volcano went up from the volcano and came down. It seeds the clouds, makes it rain more, and all the everybody's catchment has particulate matter from the volcano in it. So you definitely need to filter more. I mean, and you could have, if there's a nuclear power plant, obviously your rain accident, then you forget rainwater. I mean,
yeah. See, that's one of the things that I'm thinking about is, let's say that we're there scratching our heads going, okay, we're out of fuel, or the EMP took out the generator, or whatever it is. So we've got to make a rain catchment system. All right, great. And within a matter of weeks or months, we've got a situation where the rainwater is contaminated with radioactivity. You can't filter that out. You can filter out dirt and germs and things like that. You can't boil out radioactivity. You can't get rid of that. Now we're ingesting this stuff. In addition to breathing it in the air, we're ingesting this stuff. It's just, it's getting worse, you know?
That's the end. I mean, face it. If it gets that bad, that's the end.
Or you have to bug out to Hawaii.
Yeah, if it's that bad in the mainland, Hawaii's going to be worse.
Yeah, I just soon die of radiation poisoning than go out there. Sorry, dude. you can have your
Hawaii, you just Hawaii.
Your volcano.
Well, yeah, mongoose. We got tons of mongoose out here. If you can eat mongoose, there's like they're running all over the condo. It's like the cats are.
Really, you have to be realistic. There is a point that is the end. It was predicted in the Bible, and
the New Testament and Revelations. I mean, that's not the Bible that I read, but I've heard about it, you know. So.
But there is a point that this world will be no more as we know it.
Well,
and I won't be here, so.
Yeah, it's like my mom was saying when I said, "Oh, look at this Mountain House food. It's good until 2047." She said, "Yeah, but I'm not good until 2047." You know, so I kind of saw her point. So I thought, okay, just go buy a bag of white rice.
Not to get religious,
I wasn't. But no. I was gonna say I was going to jump in there and agree with you, but I was loading the dishwasher, so I didn't think you guys wanted to hear dishes rattle around. No, I agree with you, Dusty. And for those people that aren't religious, that's your choice. That's your prerogative. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with being religious. But yeah, I believe what Dusty's saying is that there is a point where it is the end, and that is just it. Now, I got to tell you, if we're going blind, our hair is falling out, we have these sores on our body, and we can't control our movements, and everything hurts. Our teeth are falling out. At that point, I'm going to be looking over, going, "Hey, man, we all got radiation sickness. This is the end." And then we're going to break out whatever scotch he's got hidden somewhere, because I know he's got some. So,
Okay. On that wonderful note of make sure you have enough scotch to have one last drunken night before the radiation zombies come and take over everything.
That was something that they taught us in the military. Was
go ahead, Squib. I'm sorry.
something they taught us in the military was how to recognize the symptoms of radiation sickness and recognize the nerve agent reaction to nerve agents, because not all of them instantly hit you and take you out. Most of them do, though. But just some of this stuff is pretty gruesome. Dying of radiation poisoning, radiation sickness is a slow, painful, awful death. And I don't know if there's a point of no return. I know, they measure it in rads, and if you're in a certain amount, that it's a lethal dose, but it doesn't mean you're instantly going to fall over dead. But it doesn't mean that if you turn around and walk out of that zone that you're going to be fine. So I would start recognizing the signs. Now, I don't know if maybe your hair falls out first or you go blind first or whatever it is, but I don't think it's something where we can go, let's just walk away from this. At that point, we're pretty much screwed. Well, hey, you're the one who brought up the nuclear power plant, and it's now I'm thinking about this. It's a real legit thing.
Yeah, wait a minute here. It's not playing loud enough. Hit it again.
And I don't know if chemo and that type of radiation is the same, but my dad's hair fell out by the handfuls when he had radiation done for cancer.
Well, maybe your wife's like bald guys, All right. Okay. I think we're probably gonna crash this chat. Thanks everybody on the external, Steve and General Relativity, and everybody else for cruising by. And if Jared's still there, I don't know. I didn't mean to get into the end of the world dying stuff. It was grid down survival, not we're all mortal. So have fun. We're not here for a long time. We're here for a good time. And like I said earlier, I don't want people to just go to sleep and wake up every morning, open their eyes and how do I prepare for the apocalypse? No, I want you to wake up your eyes and enjoy living, because that life is for the living and not the walking dead. So thanks everyone for tuning in. We've got to get to the chopper. I know I have that sound effect on my phone somewhere. Here it is. I was watching Expendables 3, and he uses that line in that one too, not just Predator. So we're going to get to the chopper, and we'll see you next Monday. And we'll have some after chat probably for a little bit. Thanks for tuning in, people. God bless.